Hello everyone. In this video, I will discuss assessment instruments. Different authors have different concepts and views about assessment instruments. However, they may come to agree on the following concepts. Categories of assessment instruments may be viewed in four different ways. We have by mode, by construction, by stage and coverage, and by value judgment. First, let us talk about by mode. This category of instrument is based on the method or manner of assessing the student learning. This mode may be subcategorized into traditional or conventional and authentic. Conventional. This is the most pervasive category and is mostly done in the paper pen test where the learners have very limited freedom in responding to questions or problems. The responses are dependent on the given options by the teachers or limited to the given parameters. Next is the authentic. This assessment allows much freedom to the learners in making responses and employs the methods beyond the paper pencil test to measure a variety of student learning outcomes either individually or in group. So this may include perceptions of the assessors on the behavioral and task performances of the learners based on the criteria set along each learning objective. Next is assessment by construction. Whatever is the purpose of the assessment, the tools used are generally categorized into standardized and non-standardized. First is the standardized. This tool is prepared by highly technical and professional authors, and the items are prepared through a scientific process of setting the validity and reliability. It requires a uniform procedure of administering and interpreting the results based on its well-established standards. And another one is the non-standardized. This tool is prepared by teachers or persons with sufficient background in constructing, administering, scoring, and interpreting assessment tools and results. This may also known as a teacher-made instrument. This tool may be exclusive of the organization or entity for a specific purpose, and the norm is setting according to clear and definite criteria. The third one is by stage and coverage. The assessment can be categorized into diagnostic, formative, and summative. First is the diagnostic. So this is a preliminary phase of assessment which purpose is to determine the present state of student learning. The data obtained from this stage serves as the springboard of the teachers in closing learning gaps and proceeding to a formative phase of learning. Next is the formative. This assessment is done while the learners are still in process of learning within any length of time. This otherwise known as periodic assessment and covers only a segment of the entire course or content. And lastly is the summative. So this category of assessment is conducted after all the learning objectives and tasks in a given period are finished. This covers the overall learning from the beginning to the end of the course. And lastly is by value judgment. The assessment under this category consists of norm reference, criterion reference, and ipsative or self-reference. First is the norm reference assessment. So this category focuses on comparing the performance of one learner to others. Next is the criterion reference assessment. The central interest of this assessment is to determine how one learner achieves a set of criteria in a required performance. And lastly is the ipsative assessment. In this category of assessment, the learner determines how high or low his present performance to the previous in a similar or different forms of instrument use but with the same purpose. Noting that there are different assessment instruments that have similar purpose. This is otherwise known as self-reference assessment. Then we also have the significance of assessment instruments use. Without regard to the category of assessment instrument prepared by the teachers, each instrument, either conventional and authentic, has its own unique significance in determining the learning of the students. One is the scoring rubrics. So this would help students focus on content. Next is the instructional rubrics. So this would guide them in developing presentations, written and oral reports. Next is concept maps. So this would assist students in seeing the big picture. Next is portfolios. So this would develop in the students the valuing of documents. So it will enhance learning and improving their metacognition ability. Then, cooperative learning assessment. So this contains strategies that encourage peer-to-peer learning, individual and group grading. Next, concept tests. Like conceptual multiple choice questions is useful in large classes. Next, knowledge survey. So this helps teachers in determining whether or not the students could answer a survey of course content questions. Next is exam. So exam helps find tips on how to make exams better assessment instruments. Then, oral presentation. So, this helps provide tips for evaluating student presentations. Next is peer review. So, this would allow students assess themselves and each other. Next, written reports. So this would increase tips for assessing the initiative and creativity in preparing and delivering written reports. And lastly, other assessment types. So this would be a display of learning portfolios including concept sketches, case studies, seminar-style courses, mathematical thinking, and performance assessments. So those are assessment instruments. Thank you for watching and I hope you have learned something.